Good evening, dear students. Today I shall discuss with you a poem from your textbook Bliss. It is from lesson 6. The poem is Sea Fever by John Masefield. At first, I shall tell something about the poet John Masefield. John Masefield is an English poet. I shall also inform you about his personal life, that John Masefield was born in 1878 and he died in 1967. Though he was a successful poet, his childhood was not very happy. In the early days of his life, he lost his parents. John Masefield was himself a sailor. He set out for so many sea voyages. And after making so many sea voyages, he decided to stop it because he was suffering from some ailments. And after that, he decided to take the job of writing. He was also honored by the United Kingdom when he was conferred the coveted Poet Laureate. Do you know what is the meaning of Poet Laureate? Poet Laureate কথার অর্থ হচ্ছে রাজকবি, and he enjoyed this honor till his death. Now I shall tell something about the poem Sea Fever. Sea Fever is a poem in which we shall see two things. One is that the poet has deep longing for sea voyage. The poet wants to go to sea voyage, and through this sea voyage, the poet has shown us the philosophy of life. In fact, human life is compared to a sea voyage. Our life is beset with so many struggles. There are many ups and downs. There are many sufferings. A sailor has to face many ups and downs during sea voyage. In this way, the poet has established a link between sea voyage and human life. Secondly, we see a mood of freedom in this poem, Sea Voyage. The poet has highlighted the lifestyle of nomadic people, that is gypsies. The poet wants to lead the life of a gypsy. Now I shall discuss about the title of the poem. Look at the title. Sea fever. Sea fever. Sea, you know, a vast water body or ocean. And fever, what is the meaning of the word fever? You know it very well. Number one, fever is high body temperature. It is known to you. Secondly, fever also means a state of great excitement. ফিভারের দুটো অর্থ, একটা হচ্ছে ফিভার মানে জ্বর, একটা শারীরিক অসুস্থতা, আর একটা হচ্ছে দারুণ আবেগপূর্ণ একটা মানসিক অবস্থান। We shall read the poem in the light of the second meaning of fever, that is a state of great excitement. The poet feels a great desire within himself for making another sea voyage. The poet has made so many sea voyages. He feels nostalgic for those previous experiences. Now he is determined to make another sea voyage. Now I shall read out the text. The first stanza follows like this. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. We see at the very beginning of the poem, I must go down to the seas again. Look at the use of the word again. Again means that is the poet is going to do something which he has already done previously. It also means that this is not the first time the poet is going to make a sea voyage. In this connection, I want to explain a word, sea voyage. What is the meaning of the word voyage? Voyage means a long journey by sea. Now the poet is determined to make another sea voyage. That is why he is saying, I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky. The poet likes to enjoy lonely sea. Lonely means, do you know what is the meaning of lonely? Lonely means solitary, nirjanata. The poet wants to enjoy the lonely atmosphere of the sea, the vastness of the sky. Perhaps the poet is tired of seeing the madding crowd of daily life. The poet is perhaps frustrated of seeing the monotony of daily life. He wants to leave the boundary of daily life and set out for the sea, where and which he can enjoy with his heart's content. The second line, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. The poet needs a tall ship and a star to steer her by. Steer means guide. Steer means guide. পথ দেখিয়ে নিয়ে যাওয়া. The poet requires a tall ship and a star to go to the sea to make another sea voyage. Tall ship, big ship. A sailor always wants a strong ship for sea voyage. He also requires the help of poling star for making sea voyage. The pole star shows the proper direction to the sailor. Perhaps you have read it in geography. And the wheels kick, the wind song, the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. Wheels kick, the wind song, the white sails shaking. Wheel, what is a wheel? Wheel is a circular frame turning on an axle. Wheel means চাকা, জাহাজ চালনা করার যে চাকা. Wheels kick, kick means strike or strike by foot, পা দিয়ে আঘাত করা. It is called kick. Then the poet uses the phrase wind song. What is the wind song? The poet imagines the sound of wind is melodious, and then the white sail shaking, trembling. When the wind is blowing, the white sail is trembling by the wind. So you can understand what is the color of the sail. The color of the sail is white. The wheels kick, the melody of wind and trembling of white sail are source of inspiration to the poet. This inspiration helps the poet to start for a new voyage. চাকার ধাক্কা, বাতাসের সুর আর সাদা পালের কম্পন কবিকে উদ্বুদ্ধ করছে আরো একবার সমুদ্র যাত্রা করার জন্য. And grey mist on the sea's face, and a grey dawn breaking. Grey mist. Look at the word grey. Grey mist on the sea's face. Mist. What is the meaning of mist? Mist, কুয়াশা, watery vapor. Mist means watery vapor, যার অর্থ কুয়াশা. Sea's face. What is the meaning of sea's face? Sea's face means surface of the sea. Sea's face means surface of the sea. So the poet finds there is mist on the surface of the sea. He also sees a grey atmosphere when the day is breaking at the end of night. Grey dawn breaking. Breaking means starting. And what is the meaning of dawn breaking? That is daybreak. অর্থাৎ দিনের সূচনা. When the day starts, there is mist everywhere. The atmosphere is covered with mist when the poet is about to start his long journey to the sea. Mist, we can understand that initially the poet feels dispirited. Ultimately, he starts his journey. The poet feels dispirited. It is indicated by the use of word grey. Grey is a color between black and white, and it is not a bright color. So the poet feels quite dispirited. কবি শুরুতে হয়তো কিছুটা উৎসাহহীনতায় ভুগছিলেন, যদিও তিনি যাত্রা শুরু করতে পেরেছিলেন, because the poet feels deep passion within himself for making another sea voyage. Now I shall go for the second stanza. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. The poet again strongly announces that he will go for another sea voyage. He is determined about it. কবি আবার দৃঢ়ভাবে ঘোষণা করছেন যে তিনি আবার সমুদ্রযাত্রায় যাবেন। For the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call. The poet, in his year of imagination, hears the call of the running tide. The poet hears an invitation from the running tide. The poet hears within himself an invitation for making another sea voyage. Look at the expression running tide. What does it mean? It suggests the ocean, the current of the sea. Running tide, ছুটন্ত জোয়ার. Tide means you know the word tide. Tide means regular rise and fall of sea waves due to the attraction of sun and moon. The poet feels a deep passion for going to the sea. He hears the call of the running tide. It is a wild call. What is the meaning of wild? Wild means madding. Wild call means madding call. The poet becomes restless hearing the call of the running tide. The poet existence become restless. He cannot help accepting the call of the running tide and making another sea voyage. Again the poet says it is a clear call. Clear call, that is, the poet hears the call very distinctly through his ear of imagination. কল্পনার কর্ণকুহর দিয়ে কবি সুস্পষ্টভাবে শুনতে পাচ্ছেন সমুদ্রের নিমন্ত্রণ, সমুদ্রের আহ্বান। তাকে সেই নিমন্ত্রণে সাড়া দিতেই হবে, তিনি তাতে সাড়া না দিয়ে পারবেন না। It is a call that may not be denied. You know the meaning of the word denied. Denied means refused. Denied means refused. The poet cannot refuse the call of the running tide. He must succumb to the call of the sea and set out for another sea voyage. Then the poet says, and all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. Now, for making sea voyage, the poet needs a windy day. What is the meaning of the expression windy day? It means a day which is full of strong wind. In fact, a sailor always requires a day with full of strong winds for making a smooth sea voyage. Not only that, the poet also wants to see white clouds flying. While the poet is going by the ship, he comes to see the clouds flying over the sky. This sight lends or renders a scenic beauty for the enjoyment of the poet. That is why the poet needs a windy day and white clouds flying while he is going to the sea voyage, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. Flung spray. What is the meaning of flung? Flung is the past participle form of fling. Fling means to throw something with a lot of force. While we are reading this line, we can understand that the sea is turbulent and rough. The sea is full of rolling waves. আমরা এই লাইনটা পড়ার সময় বুঝবো যে সমুদ্র নির্মম এবং অশান্ত। সমুদ্র উত্তাল ঢেউয়ে পরিপূর্ণ। Now these sea waves are fluttering and breaking into foams. সমুদ্র উত্তাল, ঢেউ উচ্ছ্বসিতভাবে উঠছে, জাহাজে ঢেউ ধাক্কা মারছে এবং সেই ঢেউ চূর্ণ বিচূর্ণ হয়ে ফেনাতে ছড়িয়ে পড়ছে। The poet also imagines the crying of the seagulls. The poet also imagines the crying of the seagulls. The poet likes to hear the crying of seagulls. What is a seagull? You know, seagull is a beautiful looking seabird. The poet enjoys the beauty of the crying of seagull. Now I shall explain the meaning of some words. Spray means droplets, ঝিরি ঝিরি জলকণা, and spume means foam অর্থাৎ ফেনা. Now I shall go to the third stanza. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the girl's way and the whale's way, where the winds like a whetted knife. The poet is determined to go to the sea voyage. The poet here mentions vagrant sea life. In this line, a mood of freedom is visible, and this mood of freedom is found in the entire poem. এই কবিতায় একটা মুক্তির অনুভূতি আমরা পাই। সেই মুক্তির অনুভূতি এই কবিতায় এই লাইনে খুব সুন্দর করে ফুটে উঠেছে। And this mood of freedom is found when the poet mentioned the vagrant gypsy life. The vagrant gypsy life. Vagrant means wandering or vagabond. The poet aspires the wandering life of the gypsies. Who are gypsies? Gypsies, a group of nomadic people or a race of nomads from Asia. অর্থাৎ এশিয়া মহাদেশের অন্তর্গত নোম্যাডসদের একটা প্রজাতি হচ্ছে এই জিপসি। জিপসি কথার অর্থ হলো যাযাবর। দ্য পোয়েট ওয়ান্টস টু লিড হিজ লাইফ in the fashion of a gypsy. The poet likes to enjoy a free life as the gypsies do. The lifestyle of the gypsies are free. They move about where they wish. The poet aspires for this way of living. জিপসিদের জীবন মুক্ত, তারা এখানে ওখানে ঘুরে বেড়ায়, তাদের জীবনে কোনো উদ্বেগ নেই। কবি সেই মুক্ত বন্ধনহীন জীবনের প্রত্যাশী। To the girl's way, the whale's way, where the winds like a whetted knife. The poet likes to go to that route where he once saw the seagulls. কবি সমুদ্রের সেই পথে যেতে চান যেখানে তিনি একদা গাংচিলদের দেখেছিলেন। The poet also wants to go to that part of the sea where he once saw the whales. কবি সমুদ্রে সেই অংশ যেতে চান যেখানে তিনি একদা whale দেখেছিলেন। And there the wind is like a whetted knife. What is the meaning of the word whetted? Whetted means sharpened. Whetted কথার অর্থ হলো শান দেওয়া বা ধারালো। In that part of the sea, the poet feels a chilling sensation due to the unending blowing of cold wind. In that part of the sea, The cold wind is blowing non-stop, and the wind is so cold that it cuts like a knife. বাতাস এত ঠান্ডা যে কবি একটা শিরশিরানি অনুভূতি অনুভব করছেন এবং কবির শরীরকে ধারালো ছুরির মতো ঠান্ডা বাতাস বিদ্ধ করছে। It is like our north wind during winter season that comes from the Himalayas. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover. All I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover. What is the meaning of merry? What is the meaning of yarn? Merry means joyful. Yarn means tale. At this moment, the poet wants to hear a tale from his fellow rover. Yarn is a tale and which is full of joy. The poet wants to warm up himself by listening to the merry or funny tale from a laughing fellow rover. Laughing fellow rover. Laughing means very funny, fond of making fun, fond of cutting jokes. And fellow rover means rover means mariner or sailor. So what is the meaning of fellow rover? Fellow rover means accompanying sailor or mariner. অর্থাৎ the poet wants to enjoy his sea voyage in this way by listening a merry tale from his fellow sailor who is fond of making jokes, who is fond of making riddles, etc. And quiet sleep and a sweet dream when the long treks over. The poet wants a happy ending to his sea voyage. At the end of the voyage, the poet wants a quiet sleep. Quiet sleep, that is, the poet wants, the poet requires comforting sleep, a peaceful rest, a soothing sleep, and a sweet dream. He also wants to have a sweet dream when the long treks over. What is the meaning of the word trek? Trek means journey. When the long journey comes to an end, the poet wants to enjoy a peaceful sleep and also have a nice dream. Here we find a philosophy of life in the last line of the poem. What is the philosophy? Our life is full of struggle. There are many ups and downs. There are many sufferings, sorrows. A man has to overcome all these sufferings. He does so by his struggle of life. আমাদের জীবন অনেক উত্থান পতন, কষ্ট, সমস্যা জর্জরিত। একজন মানুষকে সংগ্রাম করে সেই সমস্ত কষ্টকে অতিক্রম করতে হয়। In the similar fashion, a sailor has to overcome all the problems, all the adversities that comes during his sea voyage. একই রকমভাবে একজন নাবিককে সমস্ত অসুবিধাগুলো অতিক্রম করতে হয়, যে অসুবিধাগুলো একজন নাবিকের সামনে আসে যখন সে কোনো সমুদ্র যাত্রা করে। A man, after overcoming all difficulties of life, prepares for the next life, which is full of eternal rest and full of joy. একজন মানুষকেও জীবনের সমস্ত কষ্ট অতিক্রম করে তাকে প্রস্তুত হতে হয় পরবর্তী জীবনের জন্য, যেখানে সে পাবে শাশ্বত আনন্দ এবং শান্তি। I hope you have seen the video. I hope the discussion of the poem Sea Fever will be helpful for your study and examination. After this, you can send your problems about the textual grammar, textual words and textual question. In the next class, I shall solve it. Thank you for watching this video.
অবশ্যই সকলকে ধন্যবাদ ভিডিওটি দেখার জন্য। সবাই ভালো থেকো, সুস্থ থেকো, বাড়িতে থেকো এবং সকলকে ভালো রেখো।